Hey guys, Ashlane here coming at you today discussing what a cycle deck is in Clash Royale. So those of you who may have seen me, I used a cycle deck in the first ever tournament in Helsinki. I made it to the finals to the main stage. I did not win. I faced a mortar deck and I lost, but a lot of people have been asking me, Ash, what is that deck? Where did you find it? How have you been using it? And why is it so successful? So I thought I'd bring it to you guys today. So you can see the princess card. I have her in the deck right now. That can be changed with either the archer or the spear goblin, as I just shown you. If you don't have the princess card, still a perfectly viable deck. In fact, I still use the deck with the archer card sometimes, even in legendary arena. I'm going to start off by a replay from Man U here. He's going to go up against Joker from In the Light. He's a level 12, Man U is a level 10, and you're going to see the way Man U plays this deck. He's actually played about almost 2,000 wins with decks like this. Now, the reason they're called cycle decks is because you're essentially using these really cheap cards to cycle your hog really quickly. Now, the other important card in this deck is Cannon. Probably the two most important cards, along with the rest of the defensive cards and the really fast, cheap cards, are certainly the Hog and the Cannon. So we're going to discuss primarily the Hog, the Cannon, and the utility of the Zap spell in this deck, because that's what makes the deck so good. So the Cannon is going to be really, really important in this deck, and the reason we use Cannon instead of the Hidden Tesla is because going up against so many mortar decks, you want to make sure you have something that mortar's able to target, and everybody knows that mortars don't target Hidden Teslas unless they're activated. Now, a deck like this is great against a deck like Joker's using right now with a lot of heavy, powerful units. This is a very powerful and popular P.E.K.K.A deck that he's using right here. So there's a couple games inside the game in terms of this deck, right? So you have the Zap spell. You can see Man U has the Zap spell ready to go here. And if they play any sort of defensive counter, or even if they don't play a defensive counter, you always want to use your Zap spell if you have it up. So a perfect hand for this deck might be a Cannon, a Goblin, a Zap spell, and a Hog. That would be a really good starting hand on this deck, because what you can do is drop your Goblins, drop your Hog, and then wait till they get to the tower, use the Zap spell to counter whatever they play defensively, and then defensively on your own end, you're able to use that Cannon to distract whatever they might play as a counter offensive in the opposite lane. So against these really hefty decks, it doesn't seem like a deck that is this cheap could actually be able to beat a deck so convincingly 2 levels ahead of him, all max cards here for Joker, but it does really well. The Cannon does a really good job at distracting those heftier units, and what you can do from there is use your Goblins and your Skeletons and your Minion Horde really smartly defensively in combination with that Zap and Arrow spell to stop offensive strong pushes like this, like you're seeing right there. The P.E.K.K.A is a great unit, but a P.E.K.K.A against a cycle deck is really difficult, playing a really power deck against a cycle deck, and I ran into a lot of these power decks, and I think I won them all, to be honest with you, at the tournament during the play-in 90-minute mode. That's because this deck is just so good at countering these really strong offensive, and at the same time, what you can do is try to get the elixir advantage, and then try to sneak in that Hog, because you're always cycling the cards so fast because the deck is so cheap, and then you can play the Hog way more than your opponent is able to counter it. That's the whole idea behind the deck. I will show you a couple variations of this deck. First, let me just go show you a replay, and if you don't have the Princess card, again, the Archers really do work well in this deck, so if you play this deck with Archers instead of the Princess, you're still going to have a lot of success, especially in lower arenas, so by all means, don't feel like you're missing out with the Princess on this deck. That does bring me to a point I wanted to mention, that I've been getting some very fair criticism about including the Ice Wizard and the Princess in too many of my videos, so I will continue to bring high-level game trends, because I feel that's really important. That's something I want to build my channel around, but in the meantime, I am going to start out a fresh account to cover more, some more strategies that everybody can use and have utility from, so I will be doing that in probably my next Royale video, if not the one after that. So you can see here, I've actually made a few misplays early on in this match. I believe believe oh, what did I do wrong? I forget what I did. I wasn't paying attention. But I did something epically wrong in the beginning of the match, and it all works out anyway in the end. You can see he's playing the Princess, he's playing the Ice Wizard, he has the P.E.K.K.A, the Elixir Collector, and the arrows. Now, when your opponent has the arrows against this deck that I'm using right now, it's very, very important to get down your arrow strategy, right? So another game within the game that I talked about earlier, that I referenced earlier, is knowing when to try to lure, aka bait out the arrows from your opponent. So in this deck, you have a few great weapons to lure out the arrows from your opponent. You have the Princess, you have the Goblins, and you have the Skeletons, right? So more often, your opponent is going to use arrows against your Princess or your Archers, depending on what card you have, because arrows kill Archers, arrows kill Princess, and it's an even trade, 3 elixir for 3 elixir, right? So what you want to do is play your Princess, use her as a lure for the arrows, and then play your Minion Horde immediately afterwards, and 9 times out of 10, your opponent's not going to have a good counter for the Minion Horde, and then your Minion Horde is actually going to be your second really strong offensive weapon in this deck. So your Hog is a good weapon. When you place your Hog down, remember with this deck, always try to place the Goblins or the Skeleton with the Hog. That does 2 things. Number 1 is it keeps the deck cycling. It's called a cycle deck because you want to cycle back to that Hog card as soon as possible. And number 2, obviously, it gives that building more things to target, and if you can reach the building even with Skeletons on top of the Hog, it's going to double the amount of damage you can do with that 1 elixir card added, or the 2 if it's the Goblins. So remember, with this deck, always place your Hog and your Goblins or Skeletons at the same time. Hopefully by that time you'll have your Zap spell ready, and then you want to have your Zap spell ready to go on the tower. You can see I didn't even need it there, but I had it ready in case I did, and it's just such a great weapon. Zap is a great weapon because it stuns, aka freezes your opponent's counter to whatever kind of push you have going. So when you use a Zap and you have your Hog already on their tower, you can get 1, sometimes 2 extra hits with your Hog on, so that's great. Now, you can see here, Arrows and Princess are the 2 flex cards of this deck. You see most of the other cards included in the cycle decks, but for example, you could add, say, the Freeze spell if you wanted to, if you're going against a deck that has a lot of buildings. For example, Hidden Tesla, Cannon, Inferno Tower, even spawner decks, it's great to have a Freeze spell there because that gives your Hog plenty of time to take down those spawning units or the defensive units. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial on what a cycle deck is. Hope you use it and have a lot of success. So thank you so much for watching, wishing you a very, very happy day or evening, whatever time you're watching, and as always guys, take care.
We don't play for fame, we don't play for cash. We just play for the glory of the